everyone. This is Jeff Praissman with Interactive Brokers. It's my pleasure to welcome back to our podcast studio, Scott Bauer from Prosper Trading Academy. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Great, Jeff. It is busy. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, we are. It's always great to have you here on these Wednesday mornings. So we do a little brief summary of the market in the past week, and then we'll look ahead. But like you said, it is busy, and we are in the middle of earnings season with a lot of major companies, Netflix, Coca-Cola, and GM already reporting earnings this past week. I saw GM and how that flew up, but how are these reports influence market sentiment, and what patterns are emerging for quarter three earnings that might signal broader economic trends?
So overall, I think the experts, the analysts out there were looking for a pretty decent earnings season overall. Certainly GM, Coca-Cola fit into that. The banks last week, for the most part, were pretty positive, but then we get Netflix and we see Netflix down almost 10% here. And Texas Instruments, which was a disappointment. We get Tesla today, and next week are all the Mag 7s. So I really think from talking to traders, talking to other big people on the institution side, I think people are cautiously optimistic. But right now, at least right here and now, the tone is a little pessimistic overall. But this is going to be an interesting one because we know looking at these results, that can absolutely influence market sentiment. And market sentiment, as we've seen, can change on a dime. So I think there is some concern, but I think people still are looking and hoping for the best.
Got it. And I want to switch courses here a little bit, actually a lot, because yesterday Fed Governor Waller, he spoke at the Payment Innovation Conference, and he spoke on tokenized assets and stablecoins, and really seemed to embrace them for the crypto world for payments. In my opinion, recognize the new reality. How do you think this relatively new embrace of digital assets potentially will impact the markets long term?
Yeah, and I think this was actually a watershed moment yesterday that may have not even hit the mainstream, at least people that I am talking to. What Waller talked about, this is massive. The Fed is no longer treating crypto rails just as a fringe, right? They're inviting them right into the payments area. And
Right.
I think Waller said I think I have the quote, maybe I'm misquoting a little bit, but a new era for the Fed in payments is here, right? And they're even talking about something, a lighter weight, a skinny master account. So they have totally embraced this. Now, where do we go from here? I think the whole crypto space, honestly, Jeff, is still the Wild West. And we've been talking about that for a very long time. But you absolutely have now the people making decisions that have embraced this. And like I said, I think it's a watershed moment. We won't really know the consequences of this maybe for years to come, but it's certainly something that in my estimation, a year, 2, 3 years down the road from now, we could see the whole landscape of the payment ecosystem changed.
Yeah, it's almost like if you can't beat them, join them.
Exactly.
And then the advanced estimate, or the first reading of the Q3 GDP, is scheduled for October 30th. For those our listeners that don't know, there's really three readings, right? There's the advanced estimate, then there's reading, I guess they call it reading 2, and then the third revision or whatever,
Yep.
second revision. Typically, how much does this first look, how much does the market care about the first look versus the second and the third revision, or is it to wait and see? Or
I do think it's important. Now, just based on what's happened over the last several months with questioning some of the data that's coming out, I get it. There's a little pessimism as to maybe what the street and retail believes in. But typically, that first look at GDP is pretty important. It can really influence investor confidence, market sentiment. We know there are always revisions. That's just part of the process. But if there's a big surprise, either positively or negatively, that can absolutely immediately impact the market. So I do think it is a critical number we're going to look at, especially because we haven't had a lot of data come out recently.
And I want to wrap it up with where we started today with the Mag 7. You had mentioned it when we were talking about the earnings, and obviously 5 of the 7, Tesla's really 6 of the 7 have been out, but Tesla's coming out tonight. The other 5, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and Alphabet are all coming out next week. You mentioned there's a little bit of pessimistic tone, but is that really regarding these, or is that just a general market outlook? And Is there anything these companies could come out that could really like rattle the market or really shock them? Or is it, oh, they're going to come out and be good, business as usual? Or is there something that could be just completely mind blowing?
It is incredibly important, and Mag 7 is not just a cute, catchy name, because we're talking about a massive part of the overall S&P 500 from these particular stocks. What these companies report, I would say what they report is not as important as what they say about the future. What do they say about AI? Is there still going to be growth? Is the whole tech bubble that people are talking about, is that something that is just for headlines and rhetoric, or is there possibly a little bit of truth to it? So 70% of the S&P 500's expected growth, which I believe it's about 8% for the quarter, they come from all the Mag 7 with the exception of Tesla. That's why this is so critical. I think there's that, again, that cautious optimism out there. How long can these companies drive the market?
Got it. Now, this was great, Scott. Always love having you come by the studio. And for our listeners, you can catch more from Scott at prospertrading.com. Also on our website, we do a bi-monthly podcast on the markets and also tons of other education material that Scott and Prosper Trading supplies with. Until next time, Scott, thank you for swinging by.
Jeff, always appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yep.
The analysis in this material is provided for information only and is not and should not be construed as an offer to sell or the solicitation of an offer to buy any security. To the extent that this material discusses general market activity, industry, or sector trends, or other broad-based economic or political conditions, it should not be construed as research or investment advice. To the extent that it includes references to specific securities, commodities, currencies, or other instruments, those references do not constitute a recommendation by IBKR to buy, sell, or hold such investments. This material does not and is not intended to take into account the particular financial conditions, investment objectives, or requirements of individual customers. Before acting on this material, you should consider whether it is suitable for your particular circumstances, and, as necessary, seek professional advice. Trading in digital assets, including cryptocurrencies, is especially risky and is only for individuals with a high risk tolerance and the financial ability to sustain losses. Eligibility to trade in digital asset products may vary based on jurisdiction.